I'm very excited to be here with such a great group of people as we launch our coalition community over cages in opposition to the construction of a $2 billion jail here in Fulton County. We have a number of wonderful groups here, Women on the Rise, ACLU, Southern Centre for Human Rights, so many great community organisations, Legal Action Centre. We're going to hear from a number of great speakers here today. I wanted to start off by giving a little background about the coalition and how it came together. Obviously Atlanta has a rich history of criminal justice related activism, and this group really was existed under another coalition that was focused on the ACDC transfer from a couple of years ago in opposition to that, and we kind of reformed, we got together again. There's so much great work has been done on that, and we got together again as the moves to build this $2 billion jail in Fulton County ramped up. So we got together in January, very concerned about the number of jail deaths that have occurred over the last few years. I believe it is 28 deaths since 2022. And we wanted to make sure our voices were heard as we put forward solutions to the jail crisis that did not involve more incarceration of black and brown people in our community. And so we decided that the first thing we needed to do as a coalition was discuss the jail feasibility report that the Fulton County Board of Commissioners had put together that was really the basis for the new jail. This was a report that was put together by consultants, and we wanted to have a group of people look at this objectively and analyse it and see if there really was a case for a new jail, and if there was a case for a new $2 billion jail, which would be the most expensive jail that the country has ever seen. So we reached out to Prison Policy Initiative to conduct a report on the case for the new jail and to come back to us with their findings, which they did last week. Prison Policy Initiative, for those who don't know, they're based out of Massachusetts. They couldn't be here today, but they have a long history of expertise in the area of jail construction and incarceration in general. And in terms of what they discovered some things that we already know, such as overuse of pretrial incarceration hurts communities, and Fulton County is no exception. Pretrial incarceration undermines public safety by increasing the likelihood that people will be arrested in the future by up to 21%. It harms employment and housing rates. It increases overdoses and suicides, and undermines the presumption of innocence by increasing guilty pleas and sentences. These harms fall squarely on the shoulders of Fulton County's black and brown residents, who make up a disproportionate number of the people in jail. The second conclusion was that the size and scale of the Fulton County Jail will take away needed money from mental health resources in the community, and I know we have a lot of medical officials here today who will speak to that, and the fact that a larger jail will make mental health and public health problems in the community a lot worse. The projected operating costs for just the mental health beds in the proposed new jail will cost $63 million, more than 3 times what Fulton County currently spends each year on behavioural health care in the community. Community health care for mental health is much cheaper and much more effective than incarceration. Now, with respect to the feasibility study, what they noted was the feasibility study that was conducted by Fulton County in support of a $2 billion jail fails to take into account the possibility of renovating the current facility. It spends dozens of pages estimating the cost of a new jail, but never provides any estimate for needed repairs at the current facility. A grand jury investigation in 2023 found that renovations to bring the jail into compliance would cost around 1.9% of the cost of a new jail. The county has now paid architects millions of dollars on this feasibility study to estimate the cost of a massive new jail, but it should not move forward, according to PPI, until there is a genuine independent estimate of an alternative plan to renovate the jail. They also note that the feasibility study ignores major pathways for decarceration and reducing the incarceration rate. Most importantly, the power of the district attorney to decrease the number of people who are incarcerated while awaiting indictment. As of December 2023, 24% of the jail population was unindicted without other charges. While still unacceptably high, this is a 10% decrease from 7 months earlier, showing that progress can be made on this goal. But this is not discussed in the jail feasibility report. The feasibility report also ignores failing crime rates. Rates of violent and property crime in Fulton County are constantly falling as part of a national trend of decreasing crime. The Fulton County Jail was built in 1989 when violent crime rates were 49% higher. As crime rates fall dramatically, building a jail that is 75% larger than the current jail seems foolhardy. And finally, the feasibility study claims that updating the jail will solve staffing shortages that currently exist and that have been responsible for a lot of the jail deaths. And the feasibility study tries to highlight jails around the country that would be quote-unquote model jails. However, PPI show that even in these updated model jails, staffing concerns run rampant, jail deaths are on the rise, and conditions in these new facilities are still bad enough that they are leading to human suffering and costly lawsuits. The reality is that there is no model jail, and creating a new massive facility will make staffing problems worse, not better. The best way to address staffing issues is through decarceration. Now, again, I wanted to stress that the PPI report that we're releasing today is really a debunking of the jail feasibility report that Fulton County Board of Commissioners approved, and that really is the rationale for a new jail itself. I also want to underscore that in the original jail feasibility report, one of the main sources supporting a new jail is Sheriff Patrick Labatt. Now, Sheriff Patrick Labatt is a thoroughly corrupt individual. He is somebody who has, on his watch, got engaged with Talatrix, a company that promised to provide wristbands to individuals that were incarcerated to better monitor their health, and this company did not deliver, and the company has actually donated money to Patrick Labatt. The Fulton County Board of Commissioners, as many of you know, cancelled that contract. We also know that there has been abuse of the inmate welfare fund on Sheriff Patrick Labatt's watch. So the notion that we would give Sheriff Patrick Labatt a $2 billion facility is something that we strongly object to. I will end by saying that last week the Fulton County Board of Commissioners rejected the opportunity to explore a sales tax that would fund the new jail. The state legislature has also been clear that they are not in support of pursuing a sales tax that is needed to fund the $2 billion jail. So there is really no path forward for this $2 billion facility. And we are here today as a coalition to say that we have brought solutions, we have brought expertise, and we deserve to be brought to the table as we discuss the path forward with respect to Fulton County's jail crisis. Thank you. I'll pass now to Fallon from ACLU.
For several years, the ACLU of Georgia has worked with partners, many of whom you see here today, and community members alike, to help provide solutions to the crisis at the Fulton County Jail and the Fulton County system at large. We have collected data, researched and written multiple reports, polled constituents, ran public education campaigns, met with stakeholders, and filed lawsuits, all working toward the same goal: to reduce human suffering and the loss of lives. And not building a new jail is paramount to us achieving that goal. In 2022, we released our first report on the jail. There are better solutions. Our message was then, and still is, simple. Without systematic change, more beds or a newer facility will not solve the crisis at the Fulton County Jail. And we did not just point out problems. We presented 4 solutions. Better utilization of the Policing Alternatives and Diversion Program. Indict cases within 90 days. True determination of ability to pay bond, and doing cite and release for misdemeanor charges. The solutions that were applied helped reduce the population, and the trend toward better outcomes began. We acknowledged this in our second report, released in December of last year, Breaking the Cycle, Exploring Alternatives to a New Jail. Ultimately, however, we lacked capacity to dive into other areas in our reports, areas like the depth and breadth of mental health concerns that plague the system. That could have been an entire report on its own. And we chose initially not to include the racial disparities, as our focus was the solutions that would benefit everyone that came through the system. We are grateful for the work done by the Prison Policy Initiative experts, a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization producing cutting-edge research to expose the broader harms of mass incarceration. The wealth of knowledge provided in their memo that examined the feasibility study created by STV Architects and Trainer HL and financed by the Fulton County Commission is full of important data that supports what the ACLU of Georgia and partners have been saying all along. I'm going to reiterate some of the key points that Michael already pointed out. Jails do not stabilize people with substance use disorder and mental illness. They take away people from systems of care that they have in the community. From 2018 to 2022, the average length of stay for people without mental health issues went from 27.7 days to 38.5 days. And for people with mental health issues, the average length of stay went from 57.9 days to 134.6 days. That is entirely too long. In 2023, around 40% of the people in custody at the Fulton County Jail had a mental health issue. Jails are not mental health facilities. The mental health beds at the jail will cost taxpayers about $423.5 million to build and $63.5 million in operating costs each year. Fulton County currently invests only $18.6 million of county funds into community behavioral health yearly, and our polling was clear. Fulton County residents don't believe people with mental health issues should be in jail. As of December 2023, 24% of the jail population was unindicted without other charges, a 10% decrease from 7 months previously, and indicting within 90 days was a solution that we presented in our first report in 2022. Violent and property crime are down 44% from 2012 to 2022, and this includes the COVID period, when much of the tough on crime rhetoric has made a resurgence. The Fulton County Jail was built in 1989 when violent crime rates were 49% higher. It's not the building, it's the system. No model jail, especially the one cited in the feasibility study, exists. We need systemic solutions, not more space to repeat the same patterns. Fulton County does not need a new facility. They cannot pay for a new facility, and they will not be able to staff a new facility. A new facility will just replicate the current problems on a bigger scale. The humanitarian crisis at the Fulton County Jail is due in part to the failure in leadership. For at least 2 years now, Fulton County leaders have disregarded the alternatives that the ACLU of Georgia and other groups have offered as options to building the new jail. Now is the time for leaders to listen and study the information before them to address this problem and put an end to tragic and fatal outcomes at the Fulton County Jail. We urge Fulton County and City of Atlanta leaders to continue to employ solutions that send people home to their families and their jobs or help them get the help that they need. There are still too many people inside the jail who should not be there. Take advantage of the Policing Alternatives Diversion Program. Fund mental health services. Make sure judges really evaluate a person's ability to pay bond, and encourage APD and other police jurisdictions in Fulton County to cite and release on misdemeanors. We love to say Atlanta influences everything. Unfortunately, that works for the good and the bad. And this is becoming jail city, because not only are we locking up more people, more human beings than most cities, they are disproportionately Black. Let's be that beacon of light that we allegedly are supposed to be, and let's take care of our people, all of them. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Roberta Myers Douglas, Vice President of State Strategy and Reentry at the Legal Action Center, and we are a proud member of the Community Over Cages Coalition. We are working toward a vision where health care is provided to all. People are no longer criminalized for their conditions related to their health. Racial inequities no longer exist in our health and legal systems, and everyone can fully participate in society. We believe this will only be achieved by ending punitive responses to people living with substance use disorders and mental health conditions, eliminating policies and practices that foster mass criminalization, incarceration, and collateral consequences, and building community health care systems that fully and equitably respond to people's varied health needs. Fulton County's jail has long been overcrowded. And though some officials are only very recently concerned with jail overcrowding, the advocacy community has been sounding the alarm on jail overcrowding for decades. The present condition of the jail did not emerge from nowhere. It is the result of negligence and a refusal of the Fulton County Sheriff and other officials elected and public appointed to proactively take appropriate measures to decarcerate the facility, and despite being warned repeatedly by advocates that we would end up in our current situation. Individuals are sitting in jail simply because they cannot afford bail, meaning a judge has said they can be released safely into the community, but they simply do not have the resources to buy their freedom. There are organizations that want to help get these people out, connect them to the resources that will help ensure they do not recidivate. But barriers continue to be erected that prevent this from happening. The sheriff himself has testified that leasing the Atlanta City Detention Center and even continuing to transport people to other jails will not solve Fulton County's problems. They have moved thousands of individuals to other facilities and have received additional resources from the Fulton County Board of Commissioners, and that did not solve any of the problems. In fact, there have been more deaths and other unknown and unpublicized atrocities impacting people detained there. Finally, you can put someone in a brand new house or car, but if they do not know how to maintain it, take care of it, they will allow it to fall apart. The sheriff is supposed to function as the keeper of that sprawling complex that has become a hellhole for the people who have to work there and those who are detained there. His budget should reflect a commitment to make significant capital improvements, not build and buy a new building. But instead, the residents of the county see new flashy vehicles every few years and hear about all kinds of other expenditures that do not address the pressing issues. The sheriff's office should be audited to understand what expenditures should have been made to ensure a safe and habitable environment. We do not want a new jail. We want investment in our people and our communities, and that is all we will accept. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. My name is Mark Spencer. I'm an internal medicine physician who practices in Fulton County. Our coalition of healthcare students and workers opposes any new jail proposal and categorically rejects any framing of a jail as a social service provider. Jails, where criminalization and dehumanization go hand in hand, can never be healing spaces. The new jail proposal attempts to frame a new facility as one built for services and healthcare provision. It even touts the increased square footage per person. This is as ridiculous as it is insulting. Warehousing individuals with mental health conditions does not make you a healthcare facility, it makes you indifferent to their needs. It was not the size of the cell that saw LaShawn Thompson neglected and die in the so-called mental health wing of the jail. If the first time someone is offered a basic resource, whether that's medication or shelter, is through criminalization, then it is a sign of how badly our social systems have already failed. Care does not come through the isolating and traumatizing experience of incarceration. As a physician who sees patients daily struggling to navigate Fulton's threadbare safety net, it is clear that many of the resources they seek simply do not exist at the scale required. As you have heard already, there are numerous parties responsible for Fulton County's dysfunctional legal system. The result of this mismanagement is 28 deaths since the beginning of 2022, with many more individuals and families harmed. In medicine, we would call this malpractice, and accountability would not look like a $2 billion check. We recognize the ongoing and preventable human rights and public health crises within the county jails. As troubling as these dual crises are, they present a crossroads, an opportunity to change course. Fulton County must radically shift its approach to harm, first by zooming out and focusing on the structural harms its own policies create. If not, A new jail will succeed only at ensuring the root causes of premature death and despair, including racialized inequality, become more deeply entrenched than they already are today. There must be a shift from a carceral-centric public safety paradigm towards preventative-focused, care-based systems. It turns out the social determinants of health are markedly similar to the social determinants of crime. By ensuring all individuals' needs are met, we can better enable safe, healthy, and thriving communities while negating the desire for more Fulton-sponsored cages. We can and must end the crisis of manufactured scarcity. We want harm reduction, not criminalization of substances. We want housing, not jail cells. Robust community health networks, not punitive institutions. We want you to stop criminalizing our patients. The politics of punishment got us here. It will not get us out.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Devin Franklin. I am Movement Policy Counsel with the Southern Center for Human Rights here in Atlanta, Georgia. And we are also a part of the Community Over Cages Coalition. And we are proud to stand with our cohorts in saying no new jail city. Prior to my role at the Southern Center doing policy work and analyzing numbers and looking at trends in incarceration, I was a public defender here in Fulton County for 12 years. In this building behind us, I stood beside individuals who waited months for indictment. I fought on behalf of individuals who could not buy their way out of jail. For too long, the solution to overcrowding in Fulton County has been purported to come from across the street. It's been said that more space would relieve the overcrowding issues. That is what we're being told today. That is what we've been told historically. And historically, it has proven to be untrue. When Jefferson Street was the county jail, Rice Street was built, and it was said that that would solve the overcrowding issue. It didn't happen. When Rice Street became overcrowded, Fulton County purchased the South Fulton Regional Jail, also known as Union City. That was said it was going to solve the overcrowding issue. It did not. A few years ago, when the overcrowding issue became a topic du jour for elected officials, it was said that the acquiring of the Atlanta City Detention Center would solve overcrowding, that the 700 beds that they would lease from the city would lead to people not being in overcrowded conditions. I'm here to let you know today that that deal, approved by commissioners across the street and councilpersons around the corner, has not been fulfilled to this day. As of yesterday, there were just about 350 people being housed in ACDC on the lease that is supposed to have reduced overcrowding in Fulton. What I'm here to tell you today is that the solutions to overcrowding in Fulton County start in the building behind us, and it begins with the solutions being proposed by this coalition. Elected officials must be held accountable, and when people are being held without indictment, without the ability to take their case to trial, without the ability to plead their case out, without the ability to have a motion or challenge the charges that were brought against them, justice is not being served. Justice is not being served when families are broken up and houses are lost and people are losing jobs because they're sitting in a jail because they can't afford a low-level bond. We are here to ask you all to focus on the source of real solutions. Those solutions come from the building behind us. They do not come from continued investment in carceral systems that have proven ineffective for decades in Atlanta.
Yes.
We must hold all arms of the state accountable. It was said by the mayor that in terms of why he was for the ACDC lease, that overcrowding wasn't he didn't cause it, but it was the city's problem. Because City of Atlanta police officers put more people in Fulton County Jail than any other jurisdiction. What we also know about about Atlanta Police Department is that Atlanta police arrest more people for low-level, non-violent offenses than 85% of police departments across the country.
I know.
And that's not a small number. There are over 14,000 law enforcement agencies that are a part of that analysis. And Fulton arrests more people for low-level nonviolent offenses than anyone. And those individuals with low-level nonviolent offenses are those same individuals that are toiling away and being ignored while in Rice Street.
Cap.
It's important to also note that individuals, Mr. Spencer spoke about the 22 deaths we've had over the past few years. It's very important to note that if you go back and look at the stories of how these people died, these people were found in their cells unresponsive.
This wild.
Being found unresponsive is not a condition of the building being too small. It is a result of neglect. It is a result of not receiving proper attention. And it's the result of those in charge of that facility not caring about the value of the lives of those people who are held in these cages. We are here to say no new jail city.
No. What is that?
And given the choice, we choose community over cages every time.
Yes, thank
Good morning. My name is Robin Hassan Simpson. I am the Executive Director with Women on the Rise, Georgia. Women on the Rise is a grassroots membership-based organization who have women who are impacted by the judicial system.
Yes.
We are here to talk about why we should not have a new jail. The reason why it is so important to us is because our Women on the Rise and our members are all impacted women. We have all served time within the city jail, within Fulton County Jail, and we can all attest to what goes on inside. What goes on inside has nothing to do with the overcrowdingness. We go inside the jails as of today to speak to the women inside, and they all talk to us about what is needed. And a new building is not what they all say that is needed.
That's right.
We all need to invest into resources and take that money and funnel that money into the people of Atlanta. I travel a lot around the United States, and people always ask, what is going on in Fulton County? And it's not a good thing. It's not a good look for me to have to explain my city to the people of the United States. Mm-hmm. How Atlanta used to be the black mecca for people of color to come and to thrive and to grow within the city. Now it's become a place where people feel like it's nothing but an attack on black and brown folks, especially poor black and brown folks. So we're asking you all today to call and contact your commissioners and let them know that resources don't need to go into building a new jail, that we need to funnel those resources into the people of Atlanta.
Yes. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dominique Grant, and I'm the Campaign and Operations Manager with Women on the Rise. I'm not going to say much to you today, but I'm here to uplift the voices of our members and women who have firsthand experiences in the Fulton County Jail and in Atlanta City Detention Center. I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce Alexandria Seeley and Veronica Brown to express their experiences firsthand and to let you know that they do not believe that a $2 billion jail is needed to change the issues that are happening.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
I got to get myself together. Hold on.
Take it out.
All right. Okay. My name is Veronica Brown, and I'm here to share my horrific experience with with Fulton County Jail on Rice Street and the Atlanta Detention Center. My time there was marked by severe neglect and mismanagement that caused significant physical and emotional suffering. While detained at the Fulton County Jail, I suffered severe burns on the inside of my thighs from a water spigot that exploded. Despite the urgency of my condition, it took 24 hours before I received any medical care. When I finally did receive treatment, I was shockingly responsible for changing all of my bandages. Bandages that I had to make out of sanitary napkins. Adding to this distress, I was unable to file any grievances, to formally report the negligence and mistreatment that I endured. This experience is a direct result of the management practices at these facilities. The pain and suffering I faced were entirely preventable.
Yeah.
It all occurred because of systematic failures.
Yes.
Building a new jail will not address these critical issues. Instead, it will perpetuate the same cycle of neglect and abuse under the same flawed management.
Right.
Atlanta is facing a public health crisis, and a new jail is not the solution. What we need are comprehensive reforms and a focus on changing the lives of residents.
Yes.
It's so needed. We must prioritize the health, safety, and dignity of those in detention to prevent others from suffering the way that I did. I'd like to thank you for your time and consideration, and I urge you to take immediate action to address these systematic issues and invest in real solutions that will support the well-being and decarceration of our people. Thank you.
Good morning, y'all.
Good morning.
Welcome in here. So my name is Alexandria, and I've experienced firsthand the harsh realities of Fulton County Jail. My time there revealed deep systemic failures that demand our immediate attention. Inside those walls, there's a shocking lack of access to essential medication and medical treatment, especially for neurodivergent individuals and those with disabilities. People struggling with substance abuse orders, they're left out in the cold with absolutely no treatment options. The officers, ill-equipped to handle mental health issues or any specific medical needs, often contribute to unnecessary suffering and inadequate care for detainees. But the core issue isn't just the crumbling infrastructure, it's the staff's inability to manage the overwhelming number of inmates. Building a new jail might look like progress, but it would only lead to more incarceration without addressing the real needs of those detained. What we truly need to reduce the jail population and provide robust, mental health services and care. Let's shift our focus to rehabilitation and support rather than expanding a broken system that perpetuates neglect and mistreatment. Thank you for your time and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.